So I've had the pleasure of working with the Elvin Howard Sr. Pancreatic Cancer Advocacy Foundation. Long name, but great work. But before we start, I want to take a moment to shout out the state champs at Southern Lab. Coach Daryl Asbury gave me this helmet signed by each member of the team last week, and I recently had to keep Daryl Hurst from walking out of the building with it. He was going to try to take it, Veronica. Veronica, Howard Sizer, Dr. Patrick McLaren are here. Let's talk, V, about the Elvin, what would we say, Elvin Howard PCAF.
There you go.
Tell us about the foundation.
Well, I'm glad that you used the acronym because that is the easiest way to say that. But the Elvin Howard Sr. Pancreatic Cancer Advocacy Foundation, or Elvin Howard Sr. PCAF, is an organization that focuses on awareness about getting the word out about pancreatic cancer. And not just pancreatic cancer, there are a whole host of diseases that have horrible numbers when it comes to social determinants of health, right?
Yeah.
Those, you know, the diabetes and the other cancers out there, the breast cancers and the like.
Yeah.
So what we found as we continue to do this work is that there's a commonality among many of them, and generally those negative social determinants of health negatively affect those people with pancreatic cancer the worst.
Dr. McLaren, we were talking during the break. Science has come a very long way. I mean, this was an almost immediate death sentence years ago, and now there are some optimistic options for people who are dealing with that. Could you talk about that?
Yeah, the treatment for pancreatic cancer often involves now what we call a multidisciplinary approach. So chemotherapy, potentially radiation, surgery, and even more advanced immunotherapies to target cancer from many different directions. And pancreatic cancer is still a very aggressive cancer, but when caught early, it is something that is treatable.
So let's talk about that. We were talking during the break about Sean Wallace, who's a mutual friend of ours who announced his current status health-wise a few weeks ago, and there was some optimism behind that. Where do you see the next decade taking us as it relates to science and treating pancreatic cancer and some of the other cancers that V mentioned earlier?
Yeah, I think the biggest step in treating pancreatic cancer is probably going to be in early detection, because as I mentioned, you know, when we detect it early, it's treatable. It's when you catch it late that it becomes a problem.
Yeah.
And so I think, you know, scientifically being able to identify patients who are high risk for pancreatic cancer and detect it before it's spread is really the goal of a lot of treatment now.
You know, I've had the opportunity to work with the foundation for years, and I remembered Veronica's mother telling the story about her father, the namesake of the organization, who succumbed to pancreatic cancer, and she noticed things about him, the jaundiced eyes, the way he carried himself. So what are some things that you would tell people to be aware of if they have some suspicions?
Well, certainly jaundice, weight loss, new onset diabetes. So those are three of the big signs.
Yeah.
And then family history of pancreas cancer is one of the strongest predictors of developing in any individual.
What about some of the work the foundation is doing now, not just dealing with people who are going through it, but you are advocating in advance of to make people aware of how horrible this is, but that it is not a death sentence immediately anymore?
Absolutely, and that's why we're so excited to be working with Dr. McLaren. We met him actually last year at our fundraiser. He did a presentation, and I am not kidding, he got a standing ovation, okay, and got rave reviews, and the senator wanted to promote him right away because of the wonderful news that's coming out of Baton Rouge General working with Dr. McLaren. And so I said all that to say that, yes, we need to put it out there, and one of the things that we're doing is this symposium that's coming up in a couple of weeks where we're going to focus on Dr. McLaurin's work.
We have a flyer for that, Alyssa. Can we pop that up on the screen on July, there it is, July 11th at 6 p.m. Tell me quickly about this.
So this will be touching on some of the work that we're doing at Baton Rouge General in a partnership with Mary Bird Perkins. We have developed a pancreatic cancer screening clinic. So it identifies, our goal is to identify patients who are high risk for pancreatic cancer. So with a family history with certain genetic mutations, and get them enrolled in a program where we are testing them annually to try and identify the disease at its earliest stage with imaging, with blood tests, and even with certain procedures to go biopsy the pancreas to catch it early where we can treat it.
And then quickly, I got 30 seconds in November. I saved the date. What's happening
Yes.
in November?
November always, the second Friday in November, we have our annual fundraiser. And so save that date. It's at 7 o'clock. And the week before, we have our 5K walk run. It's in conjunction with the City of Baker, one of our great partners. So we're excited about both of those events.
You'll be back before then to talk
Yes,
about it
we
again.
will.
Doc V, I appreciate y'all coming on. She has been really a pillar of manners and decency in our community. She wrote a book. She'll be here to tell you about it next.